Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hi everybody, this is Alex Bennett, and I've had a long and interesting trip. It's called life. And for years, people have demanded that I write a book about it, and while I've been a writer, my main talent has always been that of a broadcaster. Over a year ago, I decided not to write the book, but using my best skill, I decided to tell it. It's called Life in the Passing Lane, and I described it as an audio biography. It's presented in 30-minute chapters, so it's easy to binge listen. And you can access it on the GABNET page by clicking on Life in the Passing Lane and going to a page with every single episode, plus some extras. If you want to access it on your mobile device, that's easy too. It's on iTunes. It's Life in the Passing Lane, an audio biography by me. I'm Alex Bennett.
Talk like you've never heard it before is now talk like you've never seen it before. Alex Bennett's Ramble is now in video. Log on to Alex's Facebook page at facebook.com/abennett every Tuesday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern and experience the Citizen Panel like never before. We put a face to people like Phil, Patrick, Renee, Kevin, Tony, Jeff, Bree, Brian, and all of our regulars. And Alex is there too in his PJs. Just be glad he isn't naked. You can be one of those people who gets seen and not just heard by calling into Skype. For more information on how to Skype us, just go to gabnet.net. You can dress any way you want, provided it's decent. GABNET is now not just talk and not just a pretty face. So why don't you add yours? Reasons why you tune into GABNET. Here's reason number 9. Great celebrity guests.
So how many years is this now with Teller?
43, and that's 43 continuous. You can try to say Keith Richards and Mick Jagger go longer, but they take 3, 4, 5 years off. You know, even when they're together, they take the time off. Continuous, you know, no more than 2 weeks working apart.
Wow. And
like being waterboarded for 43 years.
GABNET. Reasons to listen every day. Log on to gabnet.net for more. GABNET. It's talk like you've never heard it before. This is an Internet Network news break. IP Pingsley reporting. Our top story, the Great American Broadcast Network, otherwise known as GABNET, is now a TuneIn partner. TuneIn, the world's largest audio network, has joined forces with GABNET, the world's most innovative talk network. GABNET's partnership with TuneIn means that listeners now have 3 main ways to listen to GABNET programming: gabnet.net, tunein.com, and the convenient TuneIn app for smartphones. To participate in the network's innovative citizen panels on GABNET programs, use Skype and type the handle GABNET Live, or call on your phone 347-352-0079. For more information on this network, its programs, and its hosts, log on to gabnet.net. That's gabnet.net. This has been an Internet Network news break. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
hey, this is Alex. This is the Ramble. It goes till midnight Eastern Daylight Time, and about 25 minutes from right now, we'll be checking in with our citizens panel. But right now, we check in with an old friend. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, gracing us is the fabulous Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Bubs.
Good to hear you, Alex.
Yeah. Good.
We're going to deliver a very positive program, as we always do.
Yes, we always do, yeah. This is always taped in advance, so what I'm talking about is probably a couple of weeks old. But it's interesting that the Attorney General in the state of New York, who has called Harvey Weinstein's alleged treatment of women despicable,
was worse than Harvey.
Resigned amid allegations that he physically abused 4 women. So, this whole world becomes, it's bizarro world.
Oh my! I just saw that. He's like, he was horrible.
I mean, he didn't just force himself sexually on him. In that regard, Harvey was a gentleman. He reputedly, allegedly beat the shit out of these women.
Yeah.
So, and he's also a attorney who is a general who was, is he the Attorney General? Yeah, he's the Attorney General of New York. He also has gone out after Trump, so that's going to give Trump a big sigh of relief and many more, posts that he can make saying, oh, look, see how crooked the Attorney General was, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's old news by the time this is playing.
Yeah, but he's, I guess and wasn't the Attorney General before him Spitzer?
It's Spitzer, yeah.
Spitzer all over her face.
Spitzer was actually okay. I mean, he was a good Attorney General. And then he didn't have much time to become a good governor, but he was, it was what he got caught in the middle of was hiring a hooker when he was in Washington.
Yeah,
and I thought that was, I don't know, specious at best. Come on. Who hasn't tried to hire a hooker in their lifetime? Right, Bubs?
Exactly.
You used to knock on doors in Oakland, and what did you say as you were knocking on them?
Are you open? I have cash.
Actually, I've never hired a hooker in my life, oddly enough. Once
Really?
Somebody else did. I was with a bunch of guys, and they go, hey, we'll buy you have you ever gone to a hooker? And I went, no, and they said, okay, we'll pay for it. And so I went. So technically, I've never paid for a hooker, but I did that once, and I just said, this is not fun. I mean, you used to do that joke all the time, but did you go to hookers?
I hit a few of them over there. Yeah, they were massage parlors, actually.
Oh, okay. So you were getting a shall we say a complete massage with a happy ending. Or maybe in your case, a not so happy ending.
Very grim ending.
A very grim ending. Can you give me a massage with a grim ending, please? But, last time we were talking, we finished off by talking about how Trump's been good for comedy. It's certainly been...
I think, I thought Colbert was literally like days from being canceled. Then he went all anti-Colbert, and that brought his ratings
He
back.
was not doing well over at CBS. They were not happy with him, and all of a sudden... Because you know what it was when he first went over to CBS, he decided, well, I don't want to be the political guy anymore. I'm going to just do a comedy show, right? Mm-hmm. And so he stayed away from that kind of. And then all of a sudden, it looked like he was going to be canceled. So he went back to old tricks, and he beats out Fallon.
Yeah.
So and Fallon tries to do some political comedy, but doesn't know how. Hasn't a clue. So it's been pretty good for him. Yeah, it's been great for him, actually, to tell you the damn truth. It's been good for comedy all the way around. I mean, I think the best guy doing comedy of a political nature on TV now is John Oliver, who is just brilliant, and funny, and takes no prisoners, and really good. But anyway, so you say Trump's been good for comedy.
Well, I think he's saved some shows like Colbert, and I don't watch the late night TV anymore, but I heard it's mostly they're all political now.
Well, I don't know that
which could get a little tiring, I would think. But
what's his name? The tubby guy with the karaoke in the cars. He isn't.
The English guy.
He isn't that political. But Seth Meyers certainly is. He starts the show off every night doing what is essentially the Saturday Night Live news segment, and that was something I said when he first started, he didn't do that. He came out like anybody else and stood up there and did some jokes. And I said, what he should do is he should immediately be, they should come in on him and he's sitting at the desk and he should do like a Saturday Night Live newscast. And that's what they finally did with it, and he's doing very well,
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. It's the house of the, what is it, 3 or 4 Jimmys. There's Jimmy Fallon. There's Jimmy Kimmel, who's very good, by the way. Jimmy Kimmel's very political. And then there's James, what's his name, over at CBS?
Corden.
James Corden. So there are 3 Jimmys in late night, and I that must be a very common name, I guess, right?
You have to work in late night. Your name has to start with a J.
Yeah, it has
like
to start.
Jay Leno, Johnny Carson.
You're right. I didn't stop to think about that.
Yeah.
Javid Letterman.
Jack Parr.
Jack Parr. Wow, you're right. There are a lot of J's in late night TV. Oh well, yeah. Okay, I'll buy that. So anyway,
well, a while back, you dazzled me with your knowledge of people I found that were dead in entertainment.
Yeah. So you're going to try it again?
I'm going to try it again.
You're going to try it again, and this time I will probably be terrible. Okay.
You never let us down. I've heard this name. Boy, this is really.
Because I'm
old.
a little loopy. I'm a little loopy on what do you call it? Medicine, pollen medicine, hay fever.
This
medicine.
may be out of your wheelhouse. This one's so old. Francis X. Bushman.
Oh, Francis X. Bushman. Yeah. Well, no, I mentioned him the last time.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
I like that.
Francis X. Bushman was, I think, the star of Ben-Hur, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You brought that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
Yeah,
right.
I got him mixed up with Elmo Lincoln, who was the first Tarzan.
A man I vaguely remember, Leo G. Carroll.
Oh, Leo G. Carroll. I loved Leo G. Carroll.
I just remember Topper.
Well, Leo G. Carroll. Oh, Leo G. Carroll. Yeah, of course. He was in Topper. It's funny. I was thinking of Leo Carrillo. He was in Topper, and then I guess what he's most famous for is Spellbound. He played the doctor, the bad doctor in Spellbound.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. In fact, he's also in North by Northwest, where he plays Cary Grant's handler. See?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Leo G. Carroll. I don't think I'm going to do as well today because I'm feeling loopy. But go ahead.
You're crazy on the goofballs.
Yeah, I'm crazy on the goofballs. Yeah.
Let's see. Louise. Oh, how about Hugh Beaumont? Because I don't know.
Well, Hugh Beaumont.
Did he do anything but Leave It to Beaver?
Well, I was going to say Leave It to Beaver. That's
the only thing I know.
Okay, Hugh Beaumont, I believe, was in a movie called Rocket Ship XM. I may be right, I may be wrong. Let me look it up here. Which was one of my favorite science fiction pictures as a kid. Rocket Ship XM. And he wasn't really even the star. Lloyd Bridges was. Let's see. Rocket Ship XM. It was the first one that comes up. Lloyd Bridges, Ona Masson, and who else? Hugh O'Brien. Excuse me. That was Hugh O'Brien. I'm sorry. It wasn't. Who went out to be Wyatt Earp. But Hugh Beaumont was. Leave It to Beaver. That's it. That's what he will forever be known for.
Okay. Guy Kibbe.
Oh, Guy Kibbe. I can see Guy Kibbe. He was a what I call a also actor. He always was after the main stars. And Guy Kibbe had a kind of very cherubic face, and I'm trying to remember what movies he may have done. And I don't know if let me look it up here. But I know him. I just can't remember things that he was in because he was in so many things. Okay, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Captain January with Shirley Temple, Captain Blood, Rain with Joan Crawford. I mean, these are all pictures that he was in, but he was one of those guys, who was hired by the movie company, and they just said, okay, you go over to lot 21, you're doing a film with Joan Crawford today.
Yeah.
But he was kind of an older guy, and even when he was younger, he probably looked older, and he had a very cherubic face, and I can see it in front of me right now, but to try and remember any of the films he was in is difficult. But I just mentioned a few. But
Brian Keith.
Brian Keith was Brian Keith. I know the actor again. I see his face in front of me, but I'm trying to remember films that he was in.
He was in some really he did some really dark films, and then he ended with some really lame sitcom, The Family Affair.
Yes, you're right. Yes. So you see, you get one I didn't get. Okay.
And he committed suicide.
Did he commit suicide? Really?
I think with a gun, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think he had a really horrible disease.
Oh, son of a bitch. God, I hope that if I get a horrible disease, I will be brave enough to do that, but I don't think I would be. It's quick, but whew. Yeah, well, you know something? People who commit suicide in violent ways really have a distrust or dislike for people because they don't consider leaving behind a body that someone else is going to have to find, and that if it's particularly horrendous, it's something that's going to live with them for the rest of their lives. So a lot of times, people who commit suicide because they want to make their families feel bad will do it in a very violent way.
Oh,
they come in, They see him strung up, or his brain's blown out, or whatever. They don't just take, a lot of pills, go off to a motel somewhere, take a lot of pills, and say goodbye.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of rage.
Yeah, there's a rage there. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
I only know her from one thing. I think one of the first lesbians on TV, Nancy Culp.
Well, of course, Beverly Hillbillies.
Right. Is that all she did?
Nancy Culp, I think she was around, she did her character stuff, and then all of a sudden Beverly Hillbillies came on. And then I think she ran for political office.
I think she did, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. How am I doing so far?
Doing so good, pretty good. Not as
masterful as last time.
Not as good as last time, but you're on the pills.
Yeah.
Aldo Ray.
Aldo Ray was an actor who was in what was that war film that he was in? I mean, I know Aldo Ray. I know his work, but I can't remember a specific picture that he was in. But he was around for quite a while. He had some problem, didn't he, in his life?
I'm trying to think. Was it from what? He was in the war pictures. The only one I know him from. From Here, not From Here to Eternity. Was it Naked Jungle?
Well, he was in We're No Angels, Nightfall. What was it? There was one film in the very beginning that he was known for. I'm trying. Boy, he did a lot of pictures, though. Somebody's here. Let's see here. Miss Sadie Thompson, he was in. I have that here in 3D. Oddly enough, yeah, he was. He was there. He really worked, though. He worked and worked and worked and worked, and then he died at the age of 64 in Martinez, California.
Wow.
Yeah. And his son was an actor later on, and his name was. God, I can't remember. I think something Ray, but he did it R-A-E, I think. But I'm trying to remember that. I don't remember. Anyway, go ahead. Next one.
a woman I actually saw at an airport in Vancouver long before I got into comedy, Gloria Swanson.
Well, of course, we know Gloria Swanson. I mean, she had a career in movies in the silent era, and her basic financial backer was Joe Kennedy. And I believe she also was fucking him.
Oh, I didn't know she had the Kennedy connection.
Yeah, oh, yes. Kennedy had a movie company, and he would back movies. And he backed Gloria Swanson. In fact, he backed the film that never got finished that she did, where it was directed by Erich von Stroheim. I'm trying to remember the name of the film now. But it's the film that they use in Sunset Boulevard when they're sitting there watching her old movies. It's that movie that they're showing, but it was not a finished film because she and von Stroheim hated each other, and and he was a very demanding director, and I think he was finally thrown off the film, and they just never completed the film. But it's then very funny that in Sunset Boulevard, she was willing to star with him.
Yeah.
In the film where he's playing her old director. Either they made up or somebody just said, look, this would just be a great pairing, and she agreed. But Erich von Stroheim made, I think, one of the best movies. See, how do we go from Gloria Swanson to Erich von Stroheim? One of the best movies that I've ever seen. And it's a silent film called Greed. And he finished the film. It took him forever. He was one of these guys who just was an absolute perfectionist. For instance, he was doing a thing. What was the film he did? Hold on a second. Let me look up his as a director. The Merry Widow, I believe it was. Oh, the film I was trying to think of with Gloria Swanson that he directed was Queen Kelly. That's what all the footage is from. But anyway, I'm looking here. The Merry Widow. And he recreated Monte Carlo. That's their main set. And then when he had things like a woman was taking a champagne bath, he used real champagne. And so he was driving the then head of the studio, Irving Thalberg. He was the head of Universal at the time, was running it as the head of production. He drove him nuts. And finally, Thalberg left the studio, went to MGM. Well, Stroheim didn't get along too well with Universal anymore after Champagne Baths, and they fired him. So he went over to MGM, where, of course, there's Thalberg again. And he wants to do this film called Greed. And he makes this movie, and he starts making it. He filmed it on location, something he didn't do a lot in those days. He took the entire crew up to, of all places, San Francisco. That's where it was filmed. And it's a masterful film. And when he was finished with it, it was 7.5 hours long.
Jesus.
And Thalberg looked at this and said, ain't no 7-hour movie I'm releasing at MGM, and fired him. And then went back into the editing room and edited it down to 2.5 hours, which is the only version you can now see. The rest of it completely lost.
Really? That's too bad.
Completely lost. May have been just burned or whatever. But the only version that lasts is 2.5 hours. However, years ago, I got to talking about this film with somebody who you don't normally think of as talking, Teller from Penn and Teller, and saying what a wonderful movie it was and how I loved it. And the next thing I know, in the mail, he has sent me a rare edition of a book, and I have it somewhere in storage, of the screenplay to Greed, and it is the complete screenplay with everything that he intended in the film. But the film has been lost to the ages, and some people say the holy grail of film is that we can't believe that he didn't take home a 7.5 hour version of this film and keep it at home, or that it wasn't in a vault somewhere. But that's the holy grail, is to find a completed copy of Greed, but they don't think there is one.
Well, that was a home run you just hit. Well, so it started with Gloria Swanson.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
Greed.
I feel bad that I couldn't remember Queen Kelly.
So I guess the Kennedy family has a long history of banging women.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It wasn't just John and Bobby.
Yeah. But she didn't have much of a career once sound came in. And then when they were going to make the movie, Sunset Boulevard, I think Billy Wilder tried to get somebody else. He tried to get another silent film actress, but she wasn't available. And so he went to Swanson, and Swanson said yes. And what she said yes to was what turned out to be one of the best movies of its era, and one of the greatest, quote, most quoted lines in movies. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille.
I know.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. Just I every now and then I'll watch it. And you've got some old. I'm trying to. Farnham. What was the guy's first name? Is in that film. And wait a minute. Let me see here. Let me look up. Quickly look up. Come on. Get past all that. Get back to actor.
Could be Dustin Farnham. William Farnham.
It's either Dustin or William. Farnham is in this film. And another person who's in it is Franklin Farnham. No, Franklin Farnham is the Undertaker. But what was that guy's name? Well, H.B. Warner's in it, and Anna Q. Nilsson, and Buster Keaton, and they all play the people who play cards with her on Saturday nights, where they all get dressed up and go play. I can't remember what the game was they play in that film. But what was great is that Billy Wilder populated the film with a lot of old actors and actresses, and it was a wonderful picture. And it's a superb performance by Swanson, who was really going against type. She probably could have... Later on, she was in films, and she was more normal as an actress, but she really knew how to be over the top in this thing. And that's the quality he wanted,
Okay.
That silent quality. Well, I think you got time for one more question.
One more, and this is the last name, and I lived to be 103, Adolf Zucker.
Adolf Zucker was a producer, and I believe, if I'm not incorrect, one of the founders of Paramount Pictures.
Okay.
He brought Cecil B. DeMille out from the East Coast to direct Squaw Man. I think that's where they started, and I think that was Adolf Zucker's career. But basically, he was the head of Paramount Pictures. He was the creator of Paramount Pictures. Let me see here. Let's go Zucker. Adolf. Come on. That's not right. He should be at the top of the list. But then again, Adolf, Zucker. Okay, Adolf Zucker. Why? It doesn't... I'm not coming up with anything. Isn't that strange? Adolf Zucker. Adolf Zucker.
103. God.
Let me see here. Come on. Now it's not going. That goes, but that doesn't go. The other name doesn't go. That's strange. Oh, I'm having trouble with it. But he was the guy who started Paramount Pictures.
Okay. Anyone that lived that long deserves something.
Does it have how old he was when he died?
Born in 1873, died in 1976.
Yeah, so that would have to be the guy who started Paramount. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, how do you think I did today?
You did very good, especially being on the pills.
Yeah, being on the pills, being a little on the loopy stuff.
But,
and by the way, folks,
Gloria Swanson was a home run.
I only look at IMDb when I finally have to find some names of pictures that they were in. But all the people you named, I knew. There wasn't somebody there I went, I don't know who Guy Kibbe is. I knew.
Guy Kibbe.
No, I mean, I could sit there if I had a guy here who did like. At the police department did suspect sketches and stuff like that. I could describe Guy Kibbe, and he would be able to draw a picture of Guy Kibbe. So that's the way I look at it. Hey, listen, we've run out of time. Bubbles, always a pleasure.
Flies by.
Always fun, always exciting when you're having times with Bubs. Thanks, Bubs.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is Gabbard, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Ta-da! Thank you, Bubbles. We really enjoy Bubbles. I love Bubbles. I think Bubbles is one of the funniest people around, and I also one of the most interesting people to talk to when you want to get into a conversation. So he makes me talk and makes me talk about things. We're going to be ready here in a moment to go to the citizens panel. Let me get rid of that. Hold on a second. I got to get rid of that, and then I got to bring up this. See, you don't know what I'm doing. You can't tell from what I'm saying, but it works okay. Let me see here. There we go. And now we open up the panel. We open up the Skype, so we get the citizens panel. So they're ready to roll, and we're ready to hear from you if you want to call. By the way, look at that. That's a T-shirt that was from, 1993 for the Punchline in San Francisco. And what happened today, I put it on, and then what I did is I didn't put this on, right? And watch what happens to the light, because automatically it turns down the light because this is so white. Okay, so I have to bring this back up, and notice now how the light. See? Oh boy! And I wish I could take it off of automatic, but I can't take it off of automatic. So that's the way things go. Anyway, cup of coffee. I'm doing coffee tonight. I don't know why. It's because my wife gave me this. This is a Xanax. And it's a new kind she's getting. It's green in color, and it's cut into thirds. So I'm going to try it if I can't get to sleep tonight. That's always good, right? Right. Anyway, it's time now for people to call our little festive program. By the way, if you want to find out how to do that, you just go over to gabnet.net, Gabnet.net, and over on the right-hand side of the page is a whole little tutorial on how to get Skype, how to use Skype, how to call us using Skype. There's even a button there that you can press to have it automatically call us here, okay? So all those things being equal, and a phone number for people who don't want to use Skype. So that's our way of getting in touch with us. And over there you can also, if you don't want to miss the show, you're going to see the show is there too, because the video runs on that page. It's also running right now on YouTube. And if you just want the audio, you can go to that page, click on right under the logo, the Gabnet logo. There's a thing for you to listen to us. You click on that, and it brings up our feed. So that's all the different ways you can get in touch with us and have something to do with us. I guess that's as much of a tutorial as I can give you. We have this program, which goes on every night, Tuesday through Friday, for the time being, at what time? At 10 o'clock at night. See, I have to know what time, otherwise I wouldn't be here, right? Anyway, we just sit around and talk with people. We have a thing called the Citizens Panel. If some people would start to call, and we could get an idea of who's calling us this evening. So we'll just let me see here. How do I get rid of that? Okay, I get rid of that, get rid of that. I'm trying to clean up my my thing here. We're waiting for people to call. I notice a lot of people are getting online tonight, but who knows if they're calling or not. So we'll just wait and see. But the other thing we're doing this thing called Alex Bennett's news break. What do I call it? I don't even remember what I call it. I think it's news break. And that you can get on our Facebook page. Okay, it goes up around at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Hey, look who's here for the second night in a row, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a minute. For some reason, my what do you call it isn't working.
Your camera.
My camera is not working. Well, let me see here. Hold on a second. Hold on a minute. I got to figure out why that isn't working. Okay. That doesn't. Let me do that and see if it does it. Hold on a second. Let me just go up to Tools and Options. There we go. Video settings. Okay. Let me see here. Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. That's not the one that I want. I don't want either of those. Where is the... Where is the... Hold on, folks. I'll be with you in a moment. Getting down here on the floor. Getting this thing to work. There, that's... Come on. Jeez almighty. This is... Hold on a second.
Technology.
Huh? Isn't technology wonderful? Isn't it? Let's see here. Oh, there we go. I got it. Ha 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 ha. Yes. Wait a minute, but it's the wrong one. It shouldn't be that one. And the other one is turned off. That's strange. Oh boy. Oh man. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna have to, I don't know what my problem is here. Hold on. Now I'm frozen to all my people out there. Let me go here. Let me go here. Let me grab this. Let me get the Brio. Okay, then I go back to here and I go to Brio. And there we go. I should be okay now on that. Now I got to figure out why I'm not getting the other thing. That's strange. Hold on, folks. Hold on. Let me show them you at least. You know, so they can see Tom. Okay, Tom is suffering with us now as we try and work our way through this problem. I have to remember which one of these inputs is here. Okay, okay, I don't want that, and I don't want that. Now, wait a minute, where is this one? This is going through here. Hold on a second. This is all very interesting, isn't it, folks? This makes for some great broadcasting. Hold on. And then there's this, and that goes there. That can't be. Although I have an idea of why this isn't working. There we go. Hold on. Let me see here now. What have we got? Do we have it? There we go. Now you'll be able to see me. Let me adjust this right. Hold on. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. Do you see me yet? Hold on.
No,
Where are my tools? Hold on a second. Here we go. Video settings. And I'm just trying to get this adjusted so it's just right. Okay, save. There we go. Now, there. Can you see me?
Oh, yes, I can see you. That's good.
Hey, folks. And, you know, we picked up all kinds of viewers while I was doing that.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah, I can't figure out why that happens, but I think people like to see us fail. I think that could be a whole new premise for a channel. We're fixing stuff. Do you know people are doing things online where they're like opening boxes?
Oh, yeah, that's been going on for years.
And people watch this by the thousands and thousands of just people opening up stuff they got from Amazon, for instance.
Yeah. Or they have these, well, you remember Miranda Janelle?
Yeah.
Used to do a thing. She had these, these curated boxes of stuff from like comic book related or science fiction. And she would do things where she would do the opening. Yeah, but that's a really common thing on YouTube. My granddaughter likes to watch videos like that where people are opening up boxes of toys and stuff like that.
Really?
Occupied her, but she's old.
That's incredible. So so maybe I'm just missing a good bet by just not doing shit like that. Like, we'll open boxes and I'll send away for stuff. It'll probably wind up costing me a fortune for all the shit I'll send away for, but why not?
I'd rather you talk to Bubbles about movies.
You love it when I talk to Bubbles about movies?
Yeah. By the way, Leo G. Carroll was also in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yes, I am glad that you remember that. Let's see here. Choose a connection you want. I want this webcam. Okay, close. Okay, are you getting a picture of me, everybody?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, good. Yeah, what happened was earlier today I was fooling around down here and I put the camera back in the wrong computer. I have two computers down there. And so I just found out that's what it was. But it's a process of elimination where if I wasn't on the air at the present time, I can go through the whole process of elimination. But when I'm on the air, it sounds crazy, and everybody can see me down on the floor, and someday I'm going to go down on the floor and I'm not going to get back up. So that's going to be it.
The audio was fine all the time.
Well, I'm sure the audio was fine. We never really have that much trouble with our audio, although there's so much I have to do here in order to do this thing in video. I don't know why. It all started out to be because I needed to do a radio program, right? And all of a sudden, here I am, doing it for video, so I've got to switch it, and things can go wrong with the cameras, and things can go wrong with the this and the that, and it's a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass.
You need a producer.
Huh?
You need a producer.
Yeah, right. Like I can afford one, And like the only person who would work for nothing is like a kid, right? So I got to find a kid somewhere who will do it. And then if I get a kid, you can't rely on 100%, So maybe I got to get a really old guy. No, but then he'll fuck up as much as I do. I don't know.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe if I, some guy in his 60s, is 65, doesn't work anymore and wants to help me every night do this program. Because you know how wonderful I could do this program if I had somebody switching the show for me? And all I had to worry about was talking to you people.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is not to be. So, what the hell? So how are you tonight, gentlemen? Are you guys going to be the only ones calling, or are we going to hear from some other people? I noticed that Rob was online. He's down in Nashville on some kind of learning thing, for his job. And he said he might try and call, and I saw him sign on, so I don't know whether he was attempting to.
Yeah, I hope Renee gets in touch with us, because there was a huge ash explosion on Kilauea this morning, and then now a couple more fissures opened up as the volcano was, going eastward towards the ocean.
Right. Hello, and this is Chris Ritter, ladies and gentlemen, who has called us before. You finally say hello to us, Chris, so we know you're fine.
Hopefully my audio is working well.
Yeah, just turn it down a little bit. It's a little on the hot side, but other than that, it's perfect. You know.
Is that good?
Yeah, okay. You're now a GabNet professional. You know.
Yeah.
With the headset and the whole thing.
Awesome. Yeah, getting there.
You know, that's a cheap headset, right?
I think it is. Yeah, my wife got it, so I think so.
Yeah, they're like sometimes like $19, and the sound out of them is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I suggest that anybody who can do it, get one of those kind of headsets like he's got with the microphone on it, and you're good to go. Of course, Tom has always been the Luddite of the group.
No,
I don't know. Maybe I'm the Luddite.
Wait, what?
I get annoyed about how you throw around the term Luddite. It's very annoying.
Yeah,
and I think that may be the reason why a lot of people are intimidated, because, you know, you're condescending when you call somebody who is technically challenged a Luddite. You know?
Well, no, I think technically challenged is worse than a, shall we say, dictionary vented word. You know, I mean, vetted word. I think Luddite is actually something to be proud of, because it comes from a tradition of. I think it started because there were some people called the Luddites,
right? Yeah,
who eschewed technology of the times. And
they rejected industrial society as a whole.
Yeah, and so they became they were the original Luddites. So a Luddite comes from a grand tradition. See, I mean, quite frankly, I think that somebody like Bubbles, who was the ultimate Luddite of anybody that I know. I mean, with you, I was kidding, but with him, it's for real. But I admire him. I mean, I wish I had chosen not to have anything to do with any of this technology. No, I'm serious.
Can I tell a story?
Sure.
I think this whole issue with computers and having to keep up a constant learning curve is something we all experience. And my son went to school, years ago with another kid whose dad worked for LucasArts.
Yeah.
And this John, I forget, his first name was John. He designed the posters for The Rocketeer and a bunch of films. I mean, you've all seen those posters; they're fantastic.
Well, LucasArts was the gaming people at Lucas. Not, he would be with.
Well, this guy worked on the motion pictures that.
Well, that was not LucasArts. That was just Lucas.
ILM, sorry.
ILM.
Yeah.
Okay.
On Kerner Boulevard, right here in San Rafael, you can still go by there. It's still a studio, but it's not owned by Lucas. So,
well, you know what he did though for years there.
Yeah.
That's where they did all the special effects for like Star Wars and so on.
Yeah.
And there were always explosions going on there.
Yeah.
But the thing was, so no one would find it. They had a sign outside that said Kerner Optical.
That's right.
And everybody thought it was like they made glasses for people.
Yeah, it's very... Well, anyways, so I asked John, I said, well, what do you use to design your artwork? And because he invited me into his studio. And he said, well, Photoshop. And I said, okay, I was just finishing my degree in web development at the time, and I had to take programming and graphic arts courses and everything. Yeah. So I said, John, you're top of your game. I said, just let me have it. Give me the honest truth. Do you know everything there is to know about Photoshop? Or do you sometimes run into problems? And he just looked at me and he broke out laughing. And he says, I'm looking at the manual all the time. So even a guy at the top of his game working for ILM can have frustrations with computers. So I think it's not us.
I'll tell you something right now. If you use a piece of technology like Photoshop or what have you, name it, okay, and you don't use it for a half a year, you have to go back to the manual. You can't remember how it was done. Do you have problems? Are you Chris? Are you computer literate, basically?
Computer literate adjacent. Ever since I got married, she took over, and I regressed. But
you mean she's the
Photoshop. I worked at the 20th Century Fox archive on Pico for a while, and everyone there was using Photoshop to restore brutalized negatives and restore, and I was watching them do it, and I got a little bit into it, but they moved me into something else because they were better at it than I was. So,
what did you do for the Fox Archives? Did you say Fox?
Yeah, well, we were finding a way to make it profitable by getting all the pictures up and running for all those True Life Hollywood shows that were going, and we were licensing a lot of the footage, and not the footage, but still photos and everything, and so we were organizing that and everything. And there's a huge underground vault there, and I think it's about 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and I just would go in there and look at all these amazing photos that I never knew existed from behind the scenes.
Wow.
And but we would find those, and then we'd try to market them and make it profitable.
Are you still doing that?
No, that was a long time ago. Other jobs. That was a long time ago.
Wow, that must have been a fascinating job. By the way, Rob
got me going with Larry Bubbles Brown and thinking about all the films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s at Fox. And I got a name for you. I don't know if it'll jog a memory, but we were looking at all the female comedians from the 70s. See if this rings a bell. Edwige Fenech.
What?
An Italian girl, Edwige Fenech. She did Italian sex comedies, kind of.
I'm sorry, but I'm not really up on Italian sex
comedies. Okay. At San Francisco, she was a little bit popular.
Really? By the way, the circling you see down there is Rob. Rob, you're not getting video to us, but are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Just can't see a picture on you.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to work tonight because I think I don't even think it's the bandwidth in here. I couldn't get the camera to turn on when I turned the computer on. I see this is my work laptop.
Yeah.
So it's Windows 10 piece of crap.
Well, you're used to using Macs, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean outside of work, but for the job you have, I guess you have to use PC because PC is what most of your products run on, right?
It's what they give me.
That's what they give you.
That's what they give you. So, and I wasn't going to bring two laptops, so.
I'm not that mad about. I mean, I'm not. How do I put this? I am not that dissuaded from Windows 10. I found that it was a great upgrade for Microsoft. I think it finally brought them into the 21st century.
It's all right. It's just like, for example, it takes forever to boot it up, and it takes forever to shut it down, and you can't just close the lid and expect to pick up where you left off, and that's the beauty of a laptop. That's why I love my Mac. When I'm done with it, I close the lid, I carry it into another room, pick it up. If it's been long enough, I just have to put in my password. Otherwise, it's ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah, well, I have in this Windows PC and the other one that I have in the other room, because it came from my wife's office, they put in a flash drive instead of a hard drive. So this thing starts up real fast.
Yeah, I have two flash drives in this laptop. Still, you can't snooze it by closing the lid. If you do, it's confused and it doesn't know what to. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Well,
Windows never figured out. Microsoft never figured out how to do that.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that bother me about Mac. I was mentioning this last night, and this was the one that really got to me, is that whenever they do like I get a thing saying, oh, there's a, what do you call it, an upgrade, not an upgrade, but, an update. And every time you go on, about every 10 minutes, the goddamn thing comes up and says, there's another update. Do you want to do another update? No, wait till tomorrow. Then tomorrow, do you want another update? And finally, you do the update, and the only reason I don't want to do the update is I know I'm going to be sitting around for an hour without a machine because Mac takes so long to upgrade its OS, whereas Microsoft 10 really kind of does its OS pretty fast.
You know why?
Why?
Because all it's doing is making a mess of your You ever notice that with any Windows operating system, I don't care what you do with the computer, After a year and a half or 2 years of updates, the machine crawls, and you need to reinstall Windows again. With Macs, they're reinstalling the operating system for you. It's clean. You don't have that problem.
No, okay. All right. I'll buy that.
Same.
I'll buy that.
It's more Windows crap.
Yeah. And basically you're in the business not of selling but of servicing and people on PCs, isn't it?
No, I don't work with computers. I sell data center stuff.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it's not in any way tied to Windows or to Microsoft or to anybody.
Yeah. Do you understand any of that data center stuff? I mean,
yeah, I better.
You bet.
Or I
You
won't
better.
be working.
I mean, in fact, you're out learning this week, right? You're in Nashville.
Yeah, it's a week of it's all of the tech folks from the company meeting in Nashville from all over the country, and it's 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. seminars.
Oh boy, is that exciting?
I am riveted. and then there's an evening of fun. Like tonight, it was at a sweaty bar downtown Nashville, with a very poor little bit of food, loud music, and all the booze you can drink.
Really?
And I lasted there about the fight at the first bus back. It's still going on now. Oh no, wait a minute. It's what time is it here now? It's 10 o'clock here.
Yeah.
So it's just ending here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm not a big. Look, 61 years old. My days in bars are over.
Yeah.
But you got to make that out. The obligatory. You got to show up.
Yeah.
So
my day in bars was over when I was 21. I mean, the minute I could legally drink, I stopped drinking.
Yeah. Well, I put my time in. I put my years and years in.
Oh, really?
I've worked in bars. I've DJ'd in bars. I've been drunk in bars.
Yeah.
Way longer than I should have.
Yeah, I just never liked hanging out in bars. I never had the what can we call it, the sophistication of pub crawling, So I never, for instance, I never knew how to pick up a woman in a bar.
Yeah, it's
very bad at that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I always was lucky because I was always either very close friends with the bartender, or I was working there as a DJ. So it's easier to meet women that way.
I'm glad.
But you're right. If you're standing at a bar, it's not easy to meet women. You got to really have that rap to do that.
But there was the day that I finally discovered marijuana. And it changed my life for me because at last I had some kind of social activity I could engage in that I didn't mind doing. Like, I didn't like drinking, okay? But pot was okay. It was fine. I don't do it anymore, but, I guess I matured out of it or something.
I did when I was in Vegas.
When you were in... What do you mean? What did you do?
Legal there.
You did.
I see.
You could go and buy it right on the site.
Yeah, I went to one of the dispensaries and bought it, and I bought a vape pen. It was a,
really?
It was a pen. I didn't buy pot because, first of all, there's no place to smoke if you're if you're a visitor. Think about it.
Yeah.
Can't smoke in a hotel, can't smoke in a rental car, nor would.
Right. Are you still there? I think we lost Rob.
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Oh, okay. But so you're saying you even if you have a vape, you can't use that, right?
Oh, you can get away with the vape pen because it doesn't really cause any smoke or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's why I bought the vape pen as opposed to just buying a small amount of pot, because you can smoke it in the car. You can not in the car. I wouldn't smoke it in the car, but you can smoke it in the hotel room, and it's not going to make a smoking mess.
Right. But they don't allow. Do they still have smoking rooms in hotels, or when you book into a hotel you can't smoke?
No.
Yeah, they do in California. They have smoke rooms. Yeah.
Who would want to be in a smoking room in a hotel? That would be tough.
Or the smoking section. Like
well, in Vegas, I smoked a cigar while I was playing. You know, in the casino, I had a nice big fat cigar going, and it was great.
Yeah.
Whoops, we lost somebody.
We lost Tom. He'll call back. Right. Yeah, because yeah. So, but yeah, I didn't stop thinking about it. You can actually now you can buy pot in California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada. Where else? In that part of the country, Colorado, which is right. I think is right next to Nevada, isn't it? At one point, or near it. So I mean, really, that whole part of the country is starting to become inundated with being pot friendly, as it were.
Yeah, well, unless Jeff Sessions gets his way.
Well, yeah, but Jeff Sessions isn't going to get his way because I mean, what are you going to do? You know, I mean, you've got to at some point, states' rights does come into play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, by the way, today it was wonderful of the Senate to do it, although it's not going to help much. But the Senate voted against
net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Ending.
Net neutrality. Against the FCC being able to end net neutrality. So now it goes to the House where it will be roundly defeated. And even if they passed it, the president would defeat it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Senate. We appreciate it, and you know we'll vote for senators this year, right? You know, but it's the whole thing's a shame. I every day I get more and more depressed. So you wanna hear something that'll make you guys happy? Oh, I just gave myself a paper fucking cut on the air.
By the way, Alex, talk about technology challenges. I went to mute my mic for a moment and I hung up.
No, was it? See, all right. So, you're not a Luddite. Okay, all right.
No, I'm not a Luddite. I just screw up once in a while.
I have a list here of the total wealth of various countries. Would you like to know the richest countries in the world? The 10 richest?
Okay.
Okay. This one won't surprise you, but this is number 10. You would think it was like higher, but our good friend Bree lives there. The United Arab Emirates. Number 10.
Of course. Yeah.
$168 billion. Saudi Arabia. Now, you would think it would be higher up, but it's number 9 with $169 billion. Now, also, in the Arab Emirates, they have 62 billionaires. Okay? In Saudi Arabia, they also have 62 billionaires. I wonder if they're the same billionaires. The United Kingdom comes in 8th with a total with 90 billionaires for a total worth of 251 billion. Yeah, this is how much all the billionaires combined are worth. So at 90, they're worth an average of about 5 billion apiece. In Hong Kong, the number of billionaires rises to 93. The total wealth of those billionaires in Hong Kong, $315 billion. Hong Kong is semi-autonomous special administrative region of China. Okay, we know that. Russia comes in at number 6. Total number of billionaires, 96, or as we know them in this country, the oligarchs. And they've got $351 billion. Switzerland. Now, tiny little Switzerland. Ready? 99 billionaires for $265 billion in net worth for all those guys together. In 4th place, India. 104 billionaires. Total wealth, $466 billion. Number 2, any guesses?
China.
You're absolutely right. China comes in with a number 338 billionaires. This is a country that's a communist country, and they've got 338 billionaires. The total wealth of the billionaires together is 1.1 trillion. That only leaves one country, I guess, in the number 1 spot, and who could that possibly be? We're number 1. We're number 1. We have, any idea? if China has 338 billionaires, how many do you think we have in this country?
Yeah, okay.
Any guess?
Double, 1,000.
680
Wow.
billionaires in the United States for a total wealth of $3.2 trillion. Now, I wonder
in the
what...
hands of 338 people.
In the hands
Or
of
680.
680 people. Yeah. And
So
if,
you're not talking about the total wealth of each country.
no, I'm talking about the total wealth
About
of the 680 billionaires is $3.2 trillion dollars.
It would be interesting to hear what the rest of us have.
Have you heard the term bupkis? You know, I mean, but we have what? Did I say 608? Was it? No, 680. Hold on a second. Let me go get the list again. 680 billionaires. Now you divide that into 3.2 trillion. Anybody got a calculator?
I don't think it goes up that high in zeros.
Yeah. But all I know is 680, and that's 30. Let's see here. Would that be $32 billion? No, I don't know how much that is. A trillion is how many billion? 1,000?
4.7 billion or something.
Huh? Well, wait a minute. How many billions in a trillion?
1,000.
1,000?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 3.2 thousand billion.
Mm-hmm.
No, excuse me. I can't figure it out. Forget it. I was bad at math. But I think that
How many live in Manhattan with you?
I think our billionaires have more money per billionaire than any of these other countries have.
And Donald Trump ain't one of them.
He's not one of them. He's got like maybe $2 billion after he pays for all those hookers. You know, the latest deal on Trump is that he came out with how much money he spent on stuff, and he spent $250 million on Michael Cohen. But it doesn't say in there part of what I paid him for was Stormy Daniels. So
Well, he sort of had Giuliani admit that for him.
yeah. That great lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who screwed the pooch on the whole deal. Yes, Tom.
Well, he had to refile his financial disclosure statement for last year.
Yeah.
Because he didn't include that $130,000 that he reimbursed his lawyer to pay off Stormy Daniels. And so the White House released this statement saying, "Oh, we just did it as a courtesy." And the ethics, the ethics people say, "No, you were in violation of law."
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I don't get though, is that what he's saying is I paid Cohn $250 million. But he didn't say part of that went for the Stormy Daniels thing. This was just what I gave him.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So he didn't specify. And by the way, $130,000 of that was to go shut up Stormy Daniels. First he pays her to open her mouth, then he pays her to close her mouth. I don't get it. Let me see here. By the way, I want to ask Chris, because you were talking about you worked for 20th Century Fox and what were their archives and so on. What do you do now?
I basically don't do much. I work for some entertainers. I help promote, and I help them with their projects.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but it leads to other things. You just try to make their life easier. It's kind of a high-end personal assistant, but not really an assistant.
Really? Here's a guy who needs a personal assistant.
Help the actors. Yeah, I love actors, love magicians. I love athletes, ex-baseball players. Just do what you can for them.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. Now, I have found over the years of dealing with people in show business that some people in show business, by virtue of their profession, are crazier than others. All right? And I always found that the craziest of all the performers that I've known are impersonators and ventriloquists. They're all nuts. Okay? Did you find that there was any particular group, just a subset that you worked with that were crazier than others?
I don't really work with them, but circus clowns seem to be really messed up. There don't seem to. I mean, I'm friends with one guy I went to college with, and he seems decent, but for the most part, it's this group, and they say, "Hey, that's a great thing you just did. I'm going to use it now." And everything is community property to them, and I grew up loving the idea of clowns, but I've never seen a funny clown. I've met a bunch of them.
Yeah,
and they're almost anti-comics in a way when they take themselves too seriously.
It's funny you should say.
I think they're a little nutty. Yeah.
It's funny you should say the clowns aren't funny by nature, because they're supposed to be. And I agree with you. I've never seen a clown that I particularly found funny.
Yeah. They indicate comedy. It's just like funny, but it's not funny. Yeah.
Hey, I got Wavy Gravy was in a parade, and he was dressed in his clown suit, with his red nose and everything, and I was filming him with a broadcast camera, and he just turned around and he flipped me the bird.
See?
Well, Wavy Gravy isn't really a clown, but he dresses like one occasionally. And
he says to protect himself from the police. He said, because you never see the police attacking clowns.
Wow. So anyway, and have you ever had to deal with any ventriloquists at all? They're crazy too.
I've met a couple in Vegas. They seem to be businessmen first. They seem to be normal, but we all grew up watching that Anthony Hopkins movie, and he's insane. And but I don't know too many crazy vents. But
well, I'll tell you one ventriloquist I know that was, to me, seemed to be out of his mind is Jeff Dunham. Because I was doing a thing with Jeff Dunham, and after it was over, we were down in the basement of the theater having pictures taken. And so we're sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and here's Jeff, and here's his, I don't know, whatever his puppet is. Maybe it was the grandpa one. I can't remember what it was. And me. And somehow Jeff had heard that I didn't like prop comics or something like that. And he looked over at me as we were taking these pictures and says, "I hear you don't like prop comics." And I said, "No, I love prop comics. It's ventriloquists I can't stand." And Dunham did not blink, but the dummy turned around, looked at me, and bared his teeth. Now, to me, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's an extension. I mean, I did a little puppetry in high school, and the hand starts talking more than your mouth does, and it's weird.
Oh yeah, Bobby Slayton told me once that he was sometimes in comedy clubs, when they hire people, they put them up in what they call their comedy condo. They buy a condo, and then they put all the comics up there whenever they come to town. And he came in one night, and there was his second act on the show, who was a ventriloquist, sitting there watching TV with his dummy and talking to the dummy about the TV show.
Well, that's odd.
And Slayton said he just yelled at him and said, "Don't ever fucking do that again. That's creepy." Yeah. Yes, Ray.
There was a Broadway show that was a big deal the last couple of years, and now it's regional. It's called Hand to God.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's this kid whose hand becomes possessed by his sock puppet. And it's an evil sock puppet. And it possesses possesses this kid's hand, and he ends up killing people, and it's insane. It's hilarious. It's a very dark comedy,
but aren't all sock puppets by nature evil?
Yeah. Well, this one is so evil. It inhabits this child.
When I was a kid, there was a movie. You know how when you're growing up, there are movies you see that scare the shit out of you, and you always remember them because it kind of like, imprinted itself on your brain. And it was called The Great Gabbo, starring Erich von Stroheim.
Oh.
And it's about this guy, and I can't even really remember the ending because I was a kid and I'm watching the movie and it doesn't mean a lot to me. But at the end, the ventriloquist dummy comes alive and kills him.
Oh, God.
At the end.
Like Chucky.
Yeah, like Chucky. Only it's a ventriloquist dummy. And to this day, I still remember that scene. It scared the shit out of me as a kid. And so therefore, I never found ventriloquists and their dummies who always looked evil. I mean, there isn't a dummy that doesn't look evil.
So Walter Winchell scared you when you were a kid?
Walter Winchell?
Charlie McCarthy and Walter.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Knucklehead.
oh, you mean Charlie McCarthy?
Charlie McCarthy.
Was it
You're
Charlie
thinking
McCarthy?
Paul
Yeah.
Winchell. Paul Winchell.
You're thinking of Paul
Paul
Winchell.
Winchell, yeah.
What do you mean Walter Winchell?
Paul
Jesus Christ.
Paul Winchell. Winchell Mahoney.
Yeah, Winchell and Mahoney.
Right.
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 And why is it that all ventriloquist dummies for years, they didn't after a while, finally somebody decided, hey, I think I'll try another kind of puppet here. But they all looked Irish. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah.
They all had most ventriloquist dummy, like Jerry Mahoney, was an Irish dummy. Charlie McCarthy, an Irish dummy.
Except for the black guy, he was famous. I remember when I was a kid, he had a black one. Didn't look Irish.
I used to like
Willie Tyler.
Willie Tyler and Lester. Yes. Yeah.
Who was the one that had the Madam?
Waylon Flowers.
Yes. Waylon.
That
Hey,
was
I
funny.
had a job. I got in San Francisco. I'm also, I do professional video. I'm also a licensed tile contractor, and I get called in.
Wait a minute. Do you ever
to a
have
job.
to? You ever called to do both jobs at the same time, like videotape tile?
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Like a reality show.
Yeah.
I think
Anyway,
would be
so you were hired
So-
to do what?
Yeah, so I went to this guy's house in Castro, and there in these giant cases on his wall were Madame, those puppets. This guy, the puppeteer, died of AIDS, and this was his boyfriend, I think. And he, I said, "Oh man, I feel honored to be here." He had all the puppets right there, framed in these giant glass cases.
Wow.
It's kind of touching.
Yeah. No. I mean, but I mean, it's a strange art. Yes.
David Copperfield in Las Vegas has a huge warehouse, and he collects ventriloquist dolls from old movies, things that freaked him out when he was a kid. And there's this little room, and when he takes people on a tour, he just walks them into the room and just kind of shuts the door on them, leaves them, and they're just staring at all these dinosaurs, staring at you, and it really seems to freak out like 80% of people.
That
when
is
they're
creepy.
like, oh, is that thing from that movie? And just 20, 30 dolls just staring at you, in a circle.
Wow.
It's,
Yeah.
I guess you got to do it, and then you don't know if you're going to be freaked out until you're in that semicircle or whatever.
Did you work with David Copperfield at all?
No, but mutual friends, and you get the tour, and he's a very, very organized guy, and he's a collector of magic artifacts. He's a collector of things that are illegal to sell nowadays. They used to sell practical jokes that would semi-injure people, and you can't sell those anymore. Collapsible chairs, staircases that would collapse on people, and
Whoa.
and he even has these amazing 19th century wind-up things, like at the Museum Mécanique and would want back in San Francisco, and he knows a lot about history. So yeah.
It's funny how I find, at least with magicians, I mean, the two that I know who are friends of mine are Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
And they all have a tendency to want to collect memorabilia and to know the history of their profession and to maintain the history of their profession.
They love VHS tapes. Yeah.
They love VHS tapes, right? No, but I mean, for instance, Teller is pretty much a walking encyclopedia of how tricks work. He's studied it. He started out as a college professor anyway, so I guess this it was an extension of that. And Penn as well. They both know the history of magic more than any other.
Didn't David Copperfield just have to give up the secret to one of his jokes?
Yes.
Or one of his tricks?
Yes,
In court?
Because he was being sued by somebody who was an audience member who was involved in the trick. I may be wrong on this.
Yeah, something like that.
And so in order to explain how the safety factors go into it to prevent the audience member from being hurt, he had to explain how the trick was done.
I believe the person got hurt and then sued him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he had to explain it, and he really didn't want to. He fought it really hard.
Yeah.
They forced him to.
Well, I mean...
I saw the testimony. It wasn't...
Really?
happy.
Yeah, I saw it on TV, a little bit of it, but
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that a magician doesn't want to reveal is how it's done. I mean, that's... We all know it's a trick. And the thing that's amazing is sometimes I see things, Penn and Teller have this show called Fool Us. And they invite magicians to come on and try to fool them by doing their tricks. And I watch some of these guys and I go, I know it's a trick. I know there's a gimmick, but I can't for the life of me. And I do know magic, quite a bit about magic and how tricks are done, and how you play a person while you're doing the trick and so on, and you're doing diversion and all of that. And yet I will watch him very carefully. Even with television, you can go back and rerun the tape, and you can't see it. And that's when it gets really amazing. It actually goes from the realm of being magic to going into the realm of being magic. Yes, Ray.
Yeah, who else is...
Hey, Alex, you remember that original DVR that we all loved because you could forward 30 seconds? I can't remember. I remember you had one years and years ago.
Yeah. Replay, I think it was called.
Yeah, Replay TV.
Yeah.
My son and I used to watch Magic, and with that one, you could do one frame at a time.
Yeah.
Fast forward, and we would do it one frame at a time.
And you still couldn't see it.
Often you could see it.
You could.
Often you could see what they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Not always, but often you could see that
Rob was
somebody doing something in the background really quickly.
Rob was trying to say something.
Collapsing.
So Rob, because you don't have a camera.
So the first night we were here for this conference, they had the opening ceremony of this whole thing. Another group of guys who are pretty amazing to watch are mentalists.
Yeah, the mentalists.
These guys do not do any magic, but they make you say things through suggestion. They can figure out things. They'll write down crazy things and you'll say them, and it's fascinating how mentalists work. Sorry?
Are you talking about hypnotists?
No, mentalists. Mentalists.
They're the guys. They're the guys that will write an answer down on a card, okay, and they'll put it in their shirt or something, and then they'll go through the whole routine with the audience, and someone will write a word and then show it, and then the guy will pull the thing out of his shirt pocket, and it will be the exact same word or something like that.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and he tries to explain it because this guy makes a lot of money doing all these corporate events. Now, they say that it's really just a matter of paying attention to your audience because they're trying to help us use these techniques in sales.
Ah, cool.
So they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money going around. These mentalists make a lot of money going around talking to sales organizations because you could use the same techniques in getting people to give you. Basically what they're doing is you write something down, you put it in your pocket or you seal it in an envelope, and then you do this thing with these people and you will them, however it is, you manipulate them to writing down or saying the exact same thing that you wrote down. And that's how it works, but good luck trying to figure out how they do that. But they tried to explain it a little bit. It's fascinating. The mentalists are also fascinating. If you get a chance to see one, they're good there.
I agree with you 100%, Rob. In fact, it's funny you talked about mentalists. That's what I was going to say. And you got ahead of me, but you're absolutely dead on about the mentalists.
Yeah.
Some of them use tricks though too. They do
it's all tricks.
Yeah, they do things like when you're waiting in the lobby, they have people with recorders on and they listen to conversations.
No, that's not the case. A real mentalist does not do that.
I know. I'm saying the ones who
there,
the scam ones.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know people who are called up on stage, you know, and because this guy, he'll have you draw a picture, and then he'll unfold a picture that he'll draw something, and then he'll call up a bunch of people on stage, and they'll put an easel in front of them, and he'll talk to them, and he'll interview them, and then they'll start drawing this, and then he'll say, oh, wait, and he takes this thing out of his pocket and folds it, and it's the same exact flower or whatever. And these people have no idea how they did it.
Okay. I could have sworn that was a magic trick.
Well,
they do a little bit. I actually book magicians and mentalists for corporate events and TV shows, and some people who know how it's done are just as fascinated, because to be successful, your presentation, even if you know how it's done, has to be entertaining. And the really good ones, they entertain you even if you know how it's done. You know, it works on two levels in a way.
Well, I have a friend, Jamie Ian Swiss, and Jamie is, do you know who I'm talking about?
I know Jamie, yeah.
Yeah, you know Jamie. Okay, so you know what I'm about ready, probably what I'm about ready to say. Jamie can do something right in front of me, this far from my face, okay? And I can't see it. I mean, it's just his dexterity with the deck is just absolutely without peer. It's wonderful. These guys, and those are the guys. Those are the true. That's the true magic, okay? Because these are the guys who are doing a craft. They are doing a skill. You know, the magicians who use illusions. Basically, Penn even said it once to me. He said, you know, in illusion magic, the person doing the most work is the assistant. You know, and it's true. Illusions are built by these guys who know how to build illusions. A guy like a David Copperfield may know how to build them himself. If he doesn't, he buys them from other people. You know, it is then all the presentation. You know, the pointing to stuff, and here's what, you know, this and that, and you know, and that's where that comes from. But when it comes to the real magic, this sleight of hand thing, which, by the way, doesn't play well in a big theater. That's the other problem with it. Really, these guys have to work cruise ships and have to work corporate events and things like that, because they have to go up and close up, show you all this ability. Yeah. It's incredible.
Some guys get the overhead projector working pretty well. And
the jumbotrons.
Yeah. But that, you know what the trouble with the overhead projector is? People can always say, well, maybe that's faked. You know, maybe that's being faked.
There's these magicians who are so good they amaze other magicians because they got state of the art. They blow away Teller. They blow away the top
yeah,
knots.
no, I mean, on the show Fool Us, occasionally they get somebody who really fools them. They don't know how it was done. I mean, they know it's magic, but the guy had a skill and a way of doing it. But all I'm saying is that whenever you see a guy doing sleight of hand, you're seeing the real deal. I mean, that's the hard-ass magic to do. So
I know one guy I worked for 5 or 6 as an assistant, and his hand, he showed me his hand. He had these defined muscles that we wouldn't have defined from hours and hours of working coins and cards. His hand was cut like someone's abdomen, you know. It was amazing to look at.
Jamie says he has to do the cards every day. If he doesn't, it's like sure. You know, it's like muscle building. It's like working out. It's like you know, training for a decathlon or whatever. If you don't do it every day, you will lose it.
Right.
You know,
makes sense.
It's like hitting a baseball.
There's a documentary out there right now about Serena Williams having her baby, and how she's been worried about the fact that she'll never really be able to get back into the game again because there was, you know, so much to go through and just the whole process. And I imagine that a magician, I saw one on Penn and Teller's show who was blind, a sleight of hand guy who was blind.
Damn. What's his name? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Okay.
You know,
I'm sure he could Google
I didn't see his name. No, he was blind. And he did the whole thing blind, and just blew them away. So I mean, it's when you see good sleight of hand, folks, and like you're saying, Rob, a mentalist, because a mentalist works in many ways like a sleight of hand guy.
Absolutely.
There is a lot of sleight of hand with what he does.
Without
Richard
the hand.
Turner?
Yeah.
Richard Turner, is that the blind guy on Penn and Teller?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because I'm just Googled it. It says a blind guy.
Yeah.
I've heard Penn say that all the mentalists are just doing magic, but I looked it up just now, and there are ways to make it look like
what bothers him. What bothers him is he doesn't mind mentalists. He always told me, he said, I have nothing against mentalists, but for instance, he hated Uri Geller. He said, not because Geller was doing a trick, but because Geller wasn't saying he was doing a trick.
Right.
In other words, he wanted everybody to think that this ability he had was real. And he said that always bothered him.
Well, now you're talking about psychics.
Huh? Oh, I hate psychics. Hate psychics. I hate psychics. Years ago, I finally banned psychics for my radio show. I said, I don't want them on. I said, it's a phony art, and it's a trick, and I don't want to be part of this canard. Because what they're doing is they're using it like to... I had this guy, remember Peter Hurkos, remember the name? Who was a mentalist. And he solved, supposedly, the Boston Strangler thing, right? And I had him in my studio. This was in Houston, Texas. It was that long ago. But I remember it taught me a lot about how these guys work. And he's going, to begin with, he always talked with an accent. It was always thick with the accent because that threw you off, okay? And he goes, so are you, he says, okay, let me see about you. I see you married. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, I'm not married. And he said, no, but I see you married. You see. So, I mean, they always have an out for everything. And I've had people say, they did a thing with a mentalist, and the mentalist said, and you do this, and you do this. I see you have a sister, blah, blah, blah. And the person's going, oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. And then after it was all over, I said, well, was he really that close on everything? He said, not at all. But for some reason, I kept agreeing that he was right. Yes, Tom.
Did you ever get a chance to see the documentary with James Randi, the amazing Randi?
Yeah, he's a debunker.
I think it's called an Honest Liar. Is it?
Yeah,
I think that's the name of the movie, Honest Liar.
When I was working in Florida at a radio station down there between gigs at Live 105 in San Francisco, Penn Jillette came down to visit me and be on my show, and Randy lives down there, so he took me out to meet Randy. And a fascinating human being, and spent most of his life debunking these guys, and especially Uri Geller.
Well, I'm thinking the other one. Who's the one that Patrick was giving money to?
That was the Reverend Popoff. Yes.
And Popoff was one of those people that used to, have.
Randy caught him.
His wife was secretly talking to people about their dead relatives, and then feeding information into his ear through an earpiece.
But here's part of it though. Here's part of it you're not mentioning. She before the service would go out into the various areas where people were congregated and hear them talking to each other.
Right.
And then she would catch a little piece of information here and a little information there. And then when he was out in the audience, she says, go to the person on your left. He has a brother. His name is Bob. Mm-hmm. And then he would go, I see you have a brother and his name is Bob. And the guy will go, oh, yes, his name is Bob. What Randy did was he went to one of these services, got into the hotel, went into a room above the auditorium where this thing was taking place, and intercepted the two-way signal between Popoff and his wife. And then he released this to the press, and it ruined Popoff. Right. It ruined him until, of course, little Patrick came along and he was able to cure him. And as we all know, Patrick is walking and.
Yeah, Patrick would just send him pennies to keep on the mailing list.
Well, no, what I suggested is that you to people was that if these people send you something and they want money from you, just send them pennies. Like fill up a whole bag with pennies because they pay for the postage.
Right.
And if they pay for the postage, it could cost them. You could put Pop-Off out of business pretty goddamn fast. You know. So.
Yeah.
Well, the greatest musician is the guy that makes Trump disappear.
Magician, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Hey, John, you do the video for that MMA company?
Yes, Dragon House.
Yeah, I've been watching them. You do a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have 2 cameras or 3?
I'm working on a third one.
Okay.
But basically it's 2 and it's handheld. It's actual, human operators working. I know a lot of the UFC fights have robotic cameras.
Okay.
And I think they use some, cage cameramen too.
Well, you could use robotic cameras in MMA, couldn't you? Because you're really working within a confined space.
Yeah.
So you can predict
and you
ahead.
On a big venue like that where people are paying beaucoup bucks, you can't have an operator standing there and blocking someone's view. So I think that's why. Well, yeah, it's cleaner to use robotics, and it's nice to have a guy go down there once in a while on the cage and shoot something. But we're on the cage all the time.
Yeah.
But it seems like you switch between the 2 cameras, and then sometimes it's a wide angle, and sometimes it's close. And it's handheld. It looks really steady.
No, both are on tripods.
Oh, they're on tripods. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be too wiggly, too shaky.
That's what I thought you said it was handheld. Okay.
Yeah. I meant to. Well.
Okay.
How do you feel about working in a business where people go in and try and kill the shit out of each other?
Well, I'll tell you, it's disturbing.
Because there's nothing phony about it. This is not like wrestling where it's all pre-scripted and everything. This is hardcore. Kick them in the ass.
There's a lot of skill in MMA. Not only are these folks adept at elements of boxing, but they know how to use their whole bodies and their legs in certain types of locks, like headlocks and arm bars and rear naked chokeholds and things like that.
That sounds like the name of some rock group, the Rear Naked Chokeholds.
Yeah.
The problem I have with the professional. So I went to a Muay Thai tournament, and they had amateurs and professionals and people in between. When they got to the professionals, there was a marked difference in attitude. They really, really wanted to hurt each other, and there's no holding back. I mean, they are trying to put the other guy in a coma, and in the amateur, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, it got to the point where it's like, wow, I don't like watching this. I'd rather watch the amateurs, even though they might be almost as skilled. There's a little bit. It's like they'll go 99%.
Yeah, in the MMA circuit that I work with, the major feeling I get from it is the meditative discipline behind MMA. Like these guys are. They also teach self-control. That's an amazing talent to have when you go into a fight, because if they call it gassing out. If you expend too much energy in the early rounds, throwing punches or being aggressive, a smart fighter will be patient with that and wait until the opponent gasses out, and then they can start using their reserves, and they train for these things.
But there's nothing at all phony about these things at all.
No, not a bit. Oh no, yeah.
I like the Dragon House too, because it's not a lot of times in the UFC, Dana White and stuff is looking for the crazy guys, the ones who are going to taunt the people, taunt their.
You're really into this, aren't you?
Well, because I've been doing Muay Thai for I don't do it anymore, but I did it for a long time, so I know a lot about it. I like watching the.
Let me ask you something, Ray.
Circuit.
Let me ask you something. You are, of all the people here, the most probably physically fit and have probably been into sports more than anybody in this group. Anybody in here really into physical sports like crazy? How about now?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I still mountain bike.
Oh, really? Okay. And
hike,
Tom bikes and things like that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you were rough and tumble, Ray.
Yeah.
How many injuries do you have?
I got arthritis all over my body. I have barely any cartilage left in my knees.
Oh, that's a rough one. Yeah.
I have arthritis in my back. I've had head injuries. I've had, I used to race bikes. I crashed a bunch of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a lot of injuries. I'm in pain a lot. Sometime
Hey, so
every
try
day.
CBD, Ray.
I do. It helps me a lot.
Yeah,
I just started
good.
using it about
what's CBD?
3 months ago, and if I use it every day,
Cannabinoid
I definitely notice the difference.
Yeah.
I like the kind without THC or almost no THC.
You know
most people
what's interesting is, do you remember years ago on Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase would open up every show by saying to me and then doing a pratfall and then saying live from New York it's Saturday night.
Yeah.
He did that only, and people don't realize this, he was only on that show for 13 weeks. Then he became a big star and he went off and made movies. He only did 13 weeks. 13 pratfalls, and to this day he says he can barely get out of bed in the morning. He aches so much from those pratfalls.
Jerry Lewis complained about the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
The problem is when you're performing, you forget your adrenaline gets up there, and that's what John was talking about with these fighters, is they learn how to control that.
Well, also at Chevy's age, he could do that 13 weeks in a row and never feel it. He didn't feel it until he got to be 40. And then, all the things he did to his body, taking those pratfalls, came home to roost.
Yeah.
I
skied since I was a kid, and I had meniscus surgery on my knee 4 years ago, and I haven't skied since. And I tried to go skiing, and I couldn't ski. I did 3 runs, and my knee was swollen up like a grapefruit.
Really? Because
swimmers seem to do pretty well because they're not putting shock on their joints and cartilage.
It's low impact. Yeah. And swimming's maybe the best thing for you.
Yeah.
But
walking and hiking.
I tore my meniscus, and as you all know, because it's the only thing I can complain about. And but it hasn't really been bothering me lately. It's gotten better on its own.
That's good.
But
if it's not really bad, it can.
Oh, if it's not really bad, it can. You know who had knee meniscus surgery is our friend Albert Reynoso. When I was working with him at Sirius XM, he had a torn meniscus, and he had to have it operated on. Most doctors will say, well, let's see if we can, through physical therapy at least, it'll never go away, but we can minimize the effect of it. And apparently I did some physical therapy and stuff, and one thing and another, and now like I said to myself the other day, I maybe once in a while it kind of aches a little bit, but that's it.
Well, what happened to me was I did the physical therapy and it helped, but then the torn cartilage created this like cyst way inside my knee. You could only see with an MRI, and it was causing my lower leg to get all swollen up, and I could barely walk. So they had to do the surgery.
They had to do it. Yeah.
You had to go and cut it all out, or I would be disabled.
My wife loves to do go to the gym, and she used to race her bike, and she'd do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, eventually her back went out. She had to have it operated on. So anybody that tells me this stuff is really terrific for you, hey, look at me. I'm 78 years old, and I can't say that outside of the torn meniscus I have any major physical problems. A little arthritis in the hand, but that's
The
it.
problem was in the 70s and 80s, it was like, do as much as you can, go for it, it's the best thing. And now they're realizing the people who live the longest and who are the healthiest do very moderate exercise.
Well, it's my theory,
and have good social networks.
And I once told this to Richard Simmons and made him get apoplectic when I said it, and that was that I go by a philosophy that if you don't use your body, it won't wear out.
Donald Trump says that. He believes that.
Well, but he adds to it. By the way, greatest photo ever. I think we talked about it last night. Meghan Markle's father, last week, had a heart attack. All right? The picture that they had of him was him leaving Kentucky Fried Chicken with a bag of Kentucky Fried Chicken and this huge pot belly. And I'm going, no shit. You know, and you're wondering why you had a heart attack, and now he can't go to the wedding because he had his heart operated on today. So, you know, boy.
Here's some CBD that I.
What is CBD?
Cannabinoid.
Oh, it's marijuana.
Yeah.
Well, you can make it either for marijuana or hemp.
Yeah.
And if you get it with marijuana, you can get it with various amounts of THC. If you get like 20 to 1, you're not going to get stoned.
Yeah.
20 to 1, 20%, 20 parts CBD to 1% THC. This has no THC or almost no THC.
What were you going to say, Rob?
Hemp.
What happens if you have to get drug tested? Would that show up in your system?
Well, there's no THC. Actually, there's a negligible amount that is a legal amount. It's because it's from hemp. It's not from.
And what does that do for you?
It's basically an anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
And it can also help with anxiety, which I noticed.
Yeah.
It helped me with my head injury a lot.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's subtle, but you definitely feel it. Like I had a TMJ in my jaw, and after I took this for every day for about 4 weeks, the TMJ went away.
Wow.
And
that's good.
Does it come back if you stop taking it?
Yeah.
So it's the inflammation that comes back, I guess.
Now we can't get that here in New York, can we?
Yeah, you can't. I think you can if it's from hemp. I think you can.
And it's called CHB?
CBD. No, CBD.
CBD.
Alex, if you Google projectcbd.org, that has everything you need to know. It's all science.
And what's it good for? Is it good for
just what Ray said? People have been cured for epilepsy with CBD.
They know it's
skin cancer. They're documented.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I'm not going with the skin cancer thing. Yeah. You know, anytime any of this over-the-counter shit is claims to cure cancer, I have to put the brakes on.
Well,
you know.
Check. I mean, go to projectcbd.org.
Yeah, but I don't like people to think if they've got cancer, they can try this stuff and they don't need to go see a doctor. Okay. I'm firmly of the belief that if you've got cancer, you got to see a doctor about it.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know,
some of these docs are prescribing cannabinoids for treatments, such as Ray was mentioning, and they are found to be effective and easier on people than opioids. You know, we have an opioid crisis in the country right now, and you know, I think I mentioned it before in a previous show that the Israelis are doing the best research on THC and CBD, and they're coming out with products.
You know what I have always believed, though, if you have an opioid crisis, the first way that you what's the word I'm looking for here? The first way that you put the brakes on it is by legalizing this shit, and having Yes, Rob.
I think most of it is not caused by your corner pusher. It's caused by people who get hurt, and they get on opioids. They get prescription medications.
Yeah.
It's not about legalizing it or not. It's really coming from pharmacists. Pills.
Do you know how paranoid they're getting about this now? My wife has to take a, I think it's not OxyContin, but it's one of the other oxys, okay, for her back. Because she has a great deal of pain from time to time. Some days she doesn't have it at all, and she's very careful about not using it. And she has a pain management person who keeps an eye on how much she's using and so on. Well, we went to this new prescription drug plan, the Express Scripts, and they said, we got to give you, since you're taking this drug, we are going to give you a free dose of whatever that drug is that they shoot up people's noses if they're overdosing. And what's it called? I'm trying to remember the name of it now.
Yeah.
Not neoprene.
Well, anyway. And she said, well, I'm not going to overdose. And they went, you never know. You might take 2 when you should have taken 1 because you forgot that you took the other one. And then you might overdose, and you've got this, okay? So we have it here in the house, So
Narcan.
Narcan. So I'm thinking of scoring some smack and overdosing just for the fun of it.
Just to see if it works.
Just to see if it works. Get the Narcan over here, dear.
There's another epidemic that's just as bad as the opioids, is the benzodiazepine medications, like Valium and Klonopin and Xanax.
Well, I have, see right there. There's a Xanax right there. I take a little bit of Xanax, no more than a little bit of it, almost every other night to put me to sleep.
Okay, well, that's good. So I take 2 Klonopin every night because I was having trouble sleeping like 15 years ago. Yeah. And now I'm addicted.
Yeah, you were saying that before.
And so I'm getting ready now to come off of it. And I hope it's not life in hell. For some people it is.
Well, if I don't do the Xanax for a couple of nights, I don't feel anything terrible. But
because you're taking it every other day and you're taking a small amount, which is you're doing it the right way.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, but these doctors were prescribing these benzodiazepines up until recently, like candy, and now they know it causes dementia, and so they're trying to get everybody off of it.
Wow.
And it's extremely difficult for a lot of people to get off of.
Wow.
I got off of part of it. Now I got the rest, and the last part is the hardest. I can't believe I have to do this.
What I'm excited about the CBD research is that it's opening up a wider spectrum of natural therapies and natural plants. I met I got hired. I was filming Paul Stamets, who famous for Mycelium Nation, and doing research to show how mushrooms were eating up toxic chemicals, at a waste site, better than any other. Manufactured chemical remedy for removing toxins out of soil.
Yeah.
And he actually censored me. He gave me permission to film, and then I put it on YouTube, and they said, "Oh, you got to take it down," because it was I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I mean, he hasn't, told me not to talk about it, but psilocybin mushrooms have shown to have some good effect on reducing the effects of sarin nerve gas poisoning. He said, I'm doing research for the government and I can't talk about that. So, So sorry, Paul. There I am on international Bennett TV. Saying
that. Well, nobody's watching.
The reason I'm saying
nobody's watching this anyway. So
plants have amazing healing properties, and I think we should remove the Schedule 1 classification for marijuana, which is the same as heroin. Come on.
Here in New York, they finally decided that they're not. Brooklyn and Manhattan DA have decided they're not going to bust people for marijuana any longer.
Good.
And I went, how long has this taken you to come around to this decision? And they said the reason they're doing it is because they've targeted black people and Hispanics. And I said, well, then I thought about it. My wife does a joint every night, and she's white and doesn't even worry about getting busted. So yes, Tom.
San Francisco has actually started a program where they're going back to the mid-'70s, trying to clean up everybody's records who've ever been arrested.
Yeah, that's good.
Possession.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. But so I mean, retroactively now, I think that should happen. But a lot of those people spent time in jail.
Yeah,
you know.
True.
And how do you give them that back?
Yeah.
By the way, let me just ask Chris. I want where are you calling from exactly? What area of the world?
I'm in Northwest Las Vegas tonight.
Northwest Las Vegas tonight? You say tonight. Why, do you live in various places? Or?
I go back and forth between here and L.A. and Big Bear, California.
Big Bear? Where's that?
Why Big Bear?
Big Bear is about 87 air miles away from Los Angeles. It's San Bernardino Mountains.
Oh,
they got a lake
there. Just drove through there.
Yeah.
You just drove through there.
Yeah,
it's a 157-mile flight from Vegas.
Wow.
I'm way up north.
I take it that's your vacation home, right?
I work out of both places.
Really?
Someone I know has houses in both places, and I look after them and such. So,
God, you've got an interesting life.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun right now because all those Pacific Crest Trail hikers are walking from Mexico to Canada, and they walk Big Bear around day 14 on their trip, and you meet them and you. Try to get them a ride to the post office or whatever they need. You try to be an angel, get them some fresh food, a real grocery store.
Yeah, that's good.
But that's like a 4.5 mile. That's like a 4.5 month hike for those people.
From where to where?
They most of them walk from Mexico to Canada, and they have to make it before it snows. And then later on, people walk from Canada to Mexico. And it's like 2,700 miles.
Why are they? Why are they doing this? Just for the experience,
for the beauty, for the exercise, to say they did it. It's a professional hiking almost.
Yeah,
so.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
you can't drive it. You have to walk this trail.
Yeah.
Wow.
They don't really go through big cities that much. So.
When I was a kid, I read a book about the first guy who did that by himself.
Yeah.
And no one had done it. Have you read that book?
I've heard about it. I know he had to blaze trails. It wasn't a clear path for him, right?
Oh my God, it's an incredible book. This guy almost died a whole bunch of times because the trail really wasn't ready everywhere, and he had no support. He had to beg for food sometimes. His sleeping bag lost all of its down. Oh my God! And then when he got to Mexico, he had no water, and there was no one around to give him any.
Wow,
it was incredible.
That's amazing. Yeah. Hey, listen, there's our lovely and wonderful theme song. So what have we learned tonight? Again, nothing. But what the hell, we had a lot of fun doing it. John Peroulis, thank you so much for calling us this evening. And by the way, the audience has stayed rather constant tonight, which means they were enthralled by everything you guys had to say. And it was a very interesting evening. Chris, we love hearing from you. Call us anytime, please. Now that you know how it works.
When I get a break from everything, I will. Yeah,
please. And Ray Renati, always wonderful hearing from you. Tom, thanks, you are our rock, as it were, and I can always count on you to call when I need you. You know, and I appreciate it. And Rob.
Well, this is the last time this week. Yeah. I'm not going to be around next 2 days.
Oh, no, because Phil will be around the rest of the week, right? That's the reason why.
No, I'm actually, I've got a meeting tomorrow night, and then I'm going away for the weekend on Friday.
Okay, well, have a nice weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to Yosemite this week, tomorrow through Sunday. Too.
Okay. Rob, thank you. Get back soon, will you?
All right.
Okay, how many more days do you have there in Nashville?
I come home Friday night.
Friday night, okay. Have safe travel. And everybody, except for Rob, of course, he can't. Wave goodbye to everybody. There.
Yes, I can.
Yes, you can? Oh.
I'm waving.
Oh, okay, he's waving.
Picture it in your mind.
Okay, I'm picturing it in my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our citizens panel for tonight. Wow. Terrific. Good show. Good bunch of people. And you've been a good audience, too, so... Well, how do I know that? I can't see you. Anyway, stay tuned next for the intersection with Jack and Amy. They're next over most of this same GabNet. At 1 o'clock this morning, yes, it's Connections. And then tomorrow night at 9:30, Damian Chaplin with The Exchange. I'll be back again tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, same time, same station in life. And in the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye.